Hey everybody, let's talk about a movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a brand new movie starring Michelle Yeoh. That came out like last week or something. And this movie, from the trailers, I could tell this was gonna be an interesting movie because so many trailers that you see these days are just kind of like the same routine. It's like, oh, it's a silly comedy. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Like you get the idea very quickly, and they kind of hammer into your head those movies. But this movie, I kept seeing this trailer and I'm like, this is not, what I would call a very kind of obvious movie. Like this is a comedy and it does have something to do with like multiverses, which is very in right now with the Marvel and DC movies. But it's not one of those movies. It really felt different. It felt like something fresh, something new, something offbeat. Like I said, just like an indie movie that just somehow is being promoted like a good amount and somehow got some backing from A24 and has a very interesting cast. You have Michelle Yeoh, which in a lead role that I haven't seen her take on in a long time. I think not since like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was a while ago. And was it like the main role? Sure, but you had Chow Yun Fat as well and Zhang Ziyi as well. So it was kind of like more of an ensemble movie, that one. But yeah, not since maybe I remember she used to do action movies as the lead. Like I think there were Hong Kong movies like a while ago, but Hollywood has not really kind of jumped in and given her a chance as like a lead actress, until today. Which I was very interested in that. Also, freaking Short Round is in this movie. Hello, Short Round is in this movie. Quan is back. I hadn't seen that guy in so long. And I recognize just his voice. Like, obviously, he looks completely different than he did when he was a kid. But I recognized the voice. I was like, I know that freaking voice. This can't be Short Round, can it? And I looked it up. It is Short Round. So I was very happy about that. James Hong, James Hong is a legend. He's a legend. I mean, the dude has been in my favorite movie, Blade Runner, along with lots of other movies that I love. Big Trouble in Little China. He was in Seinfeld. He was in, I would venture to guess, like at least 100 movies at this point. Like, the man is in his 90s, and he's still kicking ass in this movie. And James Hong is like, I really thought from the trailers he was going to have a very minor role. Like maybe he was going to be in a scene or two. No, he's got a proper role in this movie, and it's the first James Hong movie that I've seen where he's not just voice acting, of course, that I've seen since maybe R.I.P.D. the movie with like Jeff Bridges and was it Ryan Reynolds? I don't even remember who was in that. It was like a Men in Black kind of ripoff, I guess. Yeah, not since R.I.P.D. have I seen James Hong in a movie. So this was really cool. I was excited about that as well. And Jamie Lee Curtis, from the trailers, looked like she was having a good time. And once again, I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was going to have like a quick little cameo, No, she's in the movie a lot, okay? This is a pretty, these four cast members are in the movie a lot. They're like the main characters. And it's really cool. So already that was enough to like drive me into the theater to see it. But not only that, but like the trailer itself made it look very out there. Like there was, it's not just the multiverse thing. Like you could tell there was a style to this movie that was not something you'd seen before necessarily. So I wanted to go see the movie. I went in, and my expectations was that this could be kind of a hidden gem, kind of thing, and it kind of is. Word of mouth. I had some friends who'd gone to see it before me, was already quite positive. Like, my friends really liked it. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely seeing this in theaters. Last year, the blockbusters were just very, very disappointing, apart from a couple. So I was like, you know what? This year, I want to see more indie movies. I want to see more movies that are a little bit less, mainstream. And so this was the first one I saw. So I went in, and this movie was just really, really good. Like, not to cut the review short, but this movie was really good. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I was surprised at how much this movie reminded me of the movies of Michel Gondry or Spike Jonze. Stuff like being John Malkovich or Where the Wild Things Are, like just that kind of movie. Just very kind of almost. I almost expected Charlie Kaufman to have written this movie. It's definitely this kind of movie. It's an existential sci-fi comedy. So think more along the lines of Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. I think that's the closest I would say in terms of the style of it. Think Eternal Sunshine or something like maybe Human Nature. In terms of the humor, is closer to that. Just something very original, very strange, but that also has kind of like it's also kind of thought provoking. Like there's a lot of interesting themes in there. Performances are really strong and multifaceted. You've got like different actors who are like kind of pushed to give kind of very layered performances. I should start with the story. Let's start with the story. So the story follows Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh, who's just this normal lady who works, who owns actually a laundrette. Okay, and she's having some trouble. I don't know if it's really necessarily financial trouble, but she's being audited kind of thing. So she's having to pull all the receipts together. And obviously there's some sneaky stuff that she did to keep the place going over the years. So it's not all on the up and up. But, her English is not that amazing. So she needs her daughter to come and help and speak to the IRS person played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And her husband and her are having kind of troubles as well. Like she finds out that he's drawn up like papers for divorce. And her father has also come over to stay with them. And he's pretty old, obviously. It's James Hong. And he's, he has a weird relationship with the daughter as well. Like there's some friction there from the past. So there's a lot of stress going on around Evelyn's life at the beginning of the movie. And it's all kind of like building up to this trip to the IRS agent. But along the way, the husband, Quan, he does some weird stuff. Out of nowhere, he kind of switches, and then he's like, you see it on the security camera, he's like jumping around, doing all these acrobatic moves in the laundrette, and then things go back to normal, and it's like, what the hell happened? And then he has these like moments where he switches, and finally, when they go to the IRS, in the elevator, he kind of starts revealing what's going on. So, like, his mind switches again, and he's still himself, but he's a different person. And he tries to explain to Michelle Yeoh, it's like, look, put this on. It's like these little kind of like Bluetooth headset kind of things. It's gonna scan you, and then you're gonna be given a path option. Okay, so he's basically what happened. He's from a different universe. Okay, and he's trying to explain to her that there's multiple Michelle Yeohs through different universes, and she has a choice at this point to take a different path. So she could go to the meeting with the IRS lady, or she could go to the janitor's closet. In case she doesn't take one of the paths, there is another way, using those kind of Bluetooth headset things, to kind of project herself into that janitor's closet. And she doesn't know what the hell she doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't know what he's talking about. Next thing she knows, Kwan's he's back to normal. Like, he doesn't know that anything has happened. So then they go to the IRS lady, and she starts testing out what he told her about. So she tries to project herself to the janitor's closet where he is. He's already there. She's starting to project herself into a different universe. And but the problem, like, this is a very, very stressful scene where she is trying to project herself and have a chat with the multiverse version of her husband, while at the same time she has to really stay focused on what the IRS lady is talking about. And everybody's there. James Hong's there too, and she's having trouble following. And the movie kind of does a lot of things from her point of view. It's very much, the multiverses are not really, you can't take it too literally. I mean, it's very much all the things that are happening within her that she's trying to deal with, and it's on display in the movie as different, multiverses. But obviously, it's a very kind of outward display of something that's very much inside that character. All the stuff that's brewing in her mind, between her, the flashbacks to her past, the decisions that she made along the way. She sees a universe where she never met her husband, and she's very successful, and he's also very successful, but they still find each other, and it's more complicated than that. There's a funny scene where she peers into that universe where she's very successful, having never met him. And she's like, oh, I really want to tell my husband. I really want to show it. Is there a way that I can show my husband like how good things would have been without him? And it's a very kind of funny, but also very sad kind of thing that she's thinking about, But that's all kind of relating back to the kind of distance that they have with each other, and the whole divorce thing, which you learn a bit more about. It's not as clear cut as you thought it was at the beginning, and their relationship is actually a lot more complicated and a lot more interesting than you take for granted at the beginning, and that she herself takes for granted at the beginning. There's this whole thing following that character where he's like, throughout the movie, he's kind of a heroic character. At least in that other universe, where he's kind of like trying to help Michelle Yeoh reach her full potential. But in reality, he's kind of a mild-mannered guy. He's always kind of like, and this is the way that she perceives it, she doesn't like that he's always speaking for her. He's always kind of like going out of his way to kind of calm things down and like go speak to other people, like the IRS lady. She's given them a few chances to kind of get their receipts right, to get all their papers right, and he's always the one who kind of manages to talk to the IRS lady to kind of calm the situation and get another chance for them to pass this kind of big test that they have. And the way that Michelle Yeoh's perception of her husband changes throughout the movie I thought was really cool, like really interesting, where she sees that he's not just a weak guy, he's not a weak guy at all. In fact, he's actually like, this is the way that he survives. This is kind of his survival instinct, is to kind of like just be kind and just talk to people and try to kind of grab the situation and make the best of it. And she eventually, through the movie, her initial perceptions of things, she thinks about it a lot more. She experiences a lot of things, and then she realizes that her perceptions were actually kind of tainted by a lot of things, and that's not really how she felt about things. And she starts to see the good in the people around her, and tries to understand her situation a lot better, and then she can finally deal with a lot of stuff. And it's about when you reach your full potential, what do you do with it? Like, what is the most important thing in your life at that point? Is it just kind of a selfish, thing where you just want to be alone, successful but alone, or do you still kind of like make the most of the people around you, like trying to take care of the people around you, etc.? So there's a lot of different paths that she thinks about and takes, etc. So it's a very kind of existential movie, but it's a really good character study as well of Michelle Yeoh's character and Quan as well. He kicks ass in this movie. Really, like, Short Round kicks ass in this movie. I'm just saying. So if you're a fan of Short Round in Temple of Doom, you're going to be happy with that. Or The Goonies, if you're a fan of The Goonies as well. This movie is quite a bit different than I thought it was going to be, though. Not just in terms of like the style of it being more like Michel Gondry, which is a style that I love, by the way. But also, there's a couple of things that I didn't expect. One, I thought we were going to spend a lot more time in the multiverses. I thought most of what happens was going to take place in all sorts of different places. And this movie actually does take place mostly, I would say, in the IRS office. which is not the where you would think most of the movie would take place. Considering the trailer shows you kind of a lot of like cool different locations, but really when you think about it, the movie could almost be a play. It could almost be a play because of how much time we spend in that location, and that kind of bothered me after a while. I really I feel like this movie could have been just a little bit shorter, and then we could have spent a bit more time in other universes, because we kind of get flashes of these other universes. We spend a little bit of time. There's some funny ones. There's the one where she's successful, of course. There's the one where they all have sausage fingers, like literal sausage fingers. There's one that's kind of like this weird, almost like a weird cult with her daughter kind of running the show. There's all sorts of places, and the daughter is a huge part of the story. She is gay, and she has a girlfriend. And initially, Michelle Yeoh is not comfortable telling her father about this, telling the truth about that. So she's like, "Oh, it's her good friend," and the daughter's like, "What the fuck?" But that's also something she has to deal with throughout the movie. And there's this whole thing about Michelle Yeoh, not really kind of showing much kindness to her daughter or patience. She's kind of just like almost dismissing her all the time because she's so busy with other stuff, and always kind of criticizing her, like on her weight or appearance. And it's it's her way of showing that she cares, but it's also quite hurtful, right? And that's very true to real life as well. I think like a lot of people are like that. A lot of older people are kind of just showing that they care through these kind of nagging, pointing out kind of flaws and stuff, which is not great. But that's something she deals with in the movie as well. And the daughter, it turns out, has achieved her full potential, kind of. Like, she is very much in touch with other universes. Like, there's a version of the daughter who is kind of all powerful, with all these universes. Like, she's really kind of, she can hop from one to the other. She can make stuff happen at will. And Michelle Yeoh she's kind of like, Michelle Yeoh is kind of facing her, and the daughter is kind of the villain, portrayed as the villain, kind of at the beginning, especially with the performance. The actress's performance is pretty over the top when you meet that version of her. And Michelle Yeoh's kind of, it's the whole Matrix thing of being the chosen one. She has to reach her full potential herself so that she can take on her own daughter, who has created a big bagel. They call it a bagel, okay? Who has created this big kind of, like a black hole that can swallow up everything. Like all the universes are in there, basically, kind of thing. And her goal is to take Michelle Yeoh, and then they both go into the black hole, and that's it, kind of thing. And Michelle Yeoh obviously wants to take her on and kind of stop her from doing that. And this is all, of course, relating to the stuff that's happening in their real life, where the daughter is very much at risk of repeating history and doing what Michelle Yeoh did when she was young, which is kind of run away from home. So this is all kind of matching that. All the themes are kind of like mirrored. And you go a bit more into their past and learn about, what this family has gone through and all that stuff. Now, the other thing that I didn't expect was the comedy. The sense of humor in this movie is a lot crazier than I thought it was going to be. Look, I thought this movie, the whole kind of like offbeat indie movie kind of feel, I was pretty sure it was going to be something like that. Like, I wasn't that surprised when it was kind of a Michel Gondry kind of vibe, because that's kind of like one of the only ways that you can tell a story this wild on a smaller budget. Like, you have to be very creative with how you like go from one scene to the other. And the way this film is shot and edited is incredible. Like, honestly, like, it's a really well shot movie, and the editing is god tier. I mean, I don't know who edited this movie, but they freaking nailed it. They really went all in on that. But no, you can tell that the storyboards were also like very, very cool. Like it really kind of almost feels like a comic book movie. Just really, really well done on the kind of the making of the film itself. But the humor is something I didn't expect. I thought the humor there might have been a bit of humor in there, but it was going to be a bit more deadpan. I expected maybe what would be a good like a Jim Jarmusch kind of very dry humor, or perhaps Wes Anderson kind of thing. No, this movie, the humor is surprisingly broad. Like there's some very kind of subtle jokes in there, but there's a lot of like just flat out, someone's like fighting with dildos. There's like there's some weird sexual stuff in this movie. There's like an award that the IRS lady has, which looks like a butt plug. Okay, you can tell it looks like a butt plug, but there's a whole sequence later in the movie where okay, where do I start with this? So there's only one way that you can kind of like switch universes, and you have to do something completely random, but very specific. You have to do something very specific but completely random in your world. For example, like staple your ear to a freaking piece of paper or something. So you have to do something completely unexpected, but it has to be this one thing. And one of the things is these dudes, they have to put something up their ass. They have to put this specific award up their ass. So they're fighting to grab the award so they can put it up their ass. It's an incredible sequence. And it's, okay, the humor in this movie doesn't always fit, I feel. I feel like the humor in this movie is sometimes a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much sometimes. I think we go a little bit overboard with the jokes. Having said that, it is a funny movie. This is a funny movie, like undeniably. But I didn't expect how hard they were going to go with the comedy in this movie. And they went hard with the comedy. You got Jamie Lee Curtis flat out turning into like a roaming beast in the IRS offices. Just like she's like super strong and shit. You've got like the whole sausage finger thing is you got people playing the piano with their feet. You got some weird shit in this movie. This is a weird movie, but I kind of love it. Like it was really, really good. This movie, like I went in and it gave me something new, something fresh. Sure, there's some similarities. You can pick and choose, like, oh, this is a little bit like this is a little bit like this. But on the whole, this is a bold movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those movies that you don't see a lot of, and you want to see a lot more of. Even though it's not, it's not perfect. Like, what movie is perfect? I could nitpick here and there. There's like, I feel like the daughter could have been fleshed out a little bit more, because by the end of the movie, I feel like I really understand Michelle Yeoh's character. I feel like I really understand Quan's character. I feel like I really understand James Hong's character. But her, I feel like I really don't know much about her. And maybe that is by design. If it is seen from Michelle Yeoh's point of view, maybe she really hasn't taken the time to know a lot about her. But for the audience to kind of like invest a lot in this character, who is a huge part of this movie, probably the most important character in this movie, when you think about like the story, the way it goes. I wanted to kind of have more to grab onto there, because she is so out there when she's in the other universe compared to how kind of quiet and unassuming she is in the real world. I wish I'd seen a bit more of what's in between, you kind of get a little bit of that later on, but I felt like that wasn't enough. Again, I would have liked the movie to breathe a little bit more and kind of get out of the IRS offices for a little bit longer, spend a little bit more time in those really fascinating other universes. But, apart from that, like the movie could have been a little bit shorter, I guess, and the humor could have maybe toned it down just a tad. But honestly, like, these are all nitpicks, because the movie on the whole, like, really worked for me. I thought it was really creative. I thought it was really bold, really funny, really clever. And yeah, I would highly recommend you watch it in theaters if you can, because it's good to promote that kind of movie. You know, like there's really no point going to see a movie like Fast and the Furious 9 or 10. Just don't bother. Don't bother. Okay, you're going to get a visual spectacle, but you might as well get this, this visual spectacle on the small screen. Those movies really don't look that great. Let's be real. Whereas a movie like this we need more movies like this. Okay, so if you're going to go to the movies, I know it's still kind of COVID, but if you are going to go to the movies, I would suggest going to a movie like this instead of, I don't know, Morbius or something. Because, yeah, we definitely need to support those more kind of indie filmmakers. I want to see more lead roles from actors like Michelle Yeoh, from Quan. I want to see more movies with James Hong. He still has time, okay? He's old, but he can still kick ass. He's a freaking, he's in a mech suit in this movie. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. James Hong, how old is he? He's like 93 or 95 or something. He's in the mech suit at one point in this movie. It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil too much of this movie. As you can tell, I'm kind of skipping through a lot of things, but I don't want to reveal everything about this movie. My favorite thing about the movie is how Michelle Yeoh's perception kind of changes throughout the movie, as we see more of what's going on. It is kind of overwhelming at first. This movie throws a lot at you very quickly, which I like. I like that. But then it kind of slows down a little bit, and then you start to understand what it's trying to do. And it does it in a kind of subtle way, honestly. Sometimes not so subtle, but most of it is actually pretty clever, and there's a lot of detail in there. This is the kind of movie you want to see more than once if you can. So, yeah, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I would say it's the most interesting movie I've seen in a while. Let me put it this way. In terms of movies where I went to see them in theaters and I came out and I was like, that was awesome. That was legitimately really awesome. I haven't really felt like that since Dune. When I went to see Dune, I came out, I was like, that was actually really awesome. I really don't have that much bad things to say about that movie. Same here, Even like something like The Batman, which I did really enjoy, I still have this nagging feeling that if I watch it again, I'm not gonna feel as good about it. But this movie, I think, will stand up as a gem. This is the first real gem of this year, I feel. So definitely check it out. Definitely check out Everything Everywhere All at Once. I promise you, it's worth it. Just at least, even if you're not really into the story, just the visuals, the creativity of the editing, of the shots themselves, and the performances. Yeah, the cast is worth the price of admission alone for me. So really, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope you like it too. Go check it out. Thank you for watching, and see you guys later.